that. Okay, Stacy, let's talk. We're going to walk through a bunch of cool automations that community nonprofits are doing. That's the whole goal of today, and then we'll let you ask questions, but I think you're going to be impressed. So start with tributes. Tell me, what are they? How do they work? Why is automation a good solve here? I'll take it away.
So tribute gifts are when someone sends a gift to your organization and says, I'm sending you this gift in honor of my brother's birthday and he benefited from your organization in some way, or, whatever, or in memory of this person who died and was a supporter. So there's always two letters for those gifts, right? There's the thank you letter to the donor. Thanks, Stacy, for sending us $50. And then there's a notification letter that goes to the person they're honoring. So Susie Q, we wanted to let you know that Stacy sent us a gift in your honor.
And I imagine in Razor's Edge, there's a button that you just hit when you get those gifts and it handles everything perfectly, right? Is that how it works?
That's what we all think it should do, and it totally doesn't. As the Razor's Edge users on the call will be aware, you have to run your acknowledgement letters for the gifts, and then there's a totally separate process and a bunch of crazy data entry to get everything in there right, and run a separate process to do your notification letter to the person who's being honored or memorialized. Very manual, very tedious, very awful. So what we have been able to do, and by we, I mean Austin in this case, figured out how to generate all the letters kind of in one run. So this is an example of a tile that allows you to kick off a letter run with some specific criteria here, but we can also do these on a schedule. So it happens, every night or every Tuesday or whatever. And it will actually pull together all your donor acknowledgement letters, and it'll pull together all your tribute letters, and then it'll stack them together so that when you are printing your letters, you'll have one big pile of letters, you'll print them. And when it comes out, it'll have, Dear Stacy, thank you for your gift in honor of Susie Q, and then it'll say, Dear Susie Q, right next to it, we received this gift from Stacy. It takes about a zillion hours and a lot of tedious paper scrambling and things off your plate. It's a really, really brilliant little thing.
And the way that so that tile on the last slide, that's sitting on WebView, right? It's just sitting on NXT. And then this also, so this can be, if you're having this run like every night, you just get an email that's like, hey, click here, and it's your Word doc full of all the letters that you need. Is that right?
The letters you need to send. Print them and stuff them in envelopes.
That's really cool. Love it. Okay, so we're starting out there. So what a perfect example to start with automation, right? What it was a brutal manual process that took a lot of moving around, which is annoying, right? You can now automate it and just handle it for you so that your time can be spent on better, cooler things. Okay, let's keep it rolling. Daily digest. I hear about this one a lot, specifically in community orgs. Stacy or Austin, whoever it is, tell me about this. What am I looking at? What's a daily digest?
So the Daily Digest pulls whatever data you need out of Razor's Edge and sends it to you in an email. So this one is about memberships expiring. So we know we have memberships with an expiration date. And so every day the flow goes and grabs those people and then sends a link to me so I can check their record and make sure that we didn't miss a gift, or make sure that somebody called them to remind them that their membership is expiring. We can do digests with gifts, with actions, with opportunities, formerly known as proposals, with newly added constituents, kind of anything that exists in Razor's Edge we can send to you this way. So it gets the data from something you have to search for in your database to just right in front of you in your email.
One of the things too, oops, Nick, if I can just jump in here real quick. One of the things too, and we did healthcare last week, they're another kind of segment of people that are fortunate enough to receive grants from organizations. And so if you're a museum, if you're something like that receives grants, and there are some steps that you need to follow as the person receiving those grants to follow up with the grantee, that's been a really helpful tool too. So if somebody in your office works with the grants to remind them, hey, you need to send the quarterly report, to XYZ Foundation or whatever to kind of report back on how you're utilizing the grants, that's been a really popular use for that as well.
What about hypothetically, Stacy and Andy, what if you're a database administrator and you have a boss or a development director or VP who every morning sends you an email and says, hey, can you send me a list of everybody who donated yesterday? And hypothetically, you're like, boy, that's annoying because I've shown this person 1,000 times how to just go and pull this list themselves. Why do I have to do this? Hypothetically, in that scenario, could you use a daily digest to just do that every single day? Send them that list.
We have a lot of organizations that do that. It allows people to go on vacation, allows everyone to have, not have somebody in their office at 8:15 saying, hey, where's my list? Where's my list? Right? Yes, we can do some of those simple kind of things that are just repetitive and save you 5 to 30 minutes a day of doing the same report every single time, right?
And you can save you a lifetime of grumbles, because it's not just the 5 to 10 minutes, it's the buildup, right? It's like that tears away your soul, having to do the exact same thing every day, knowing that they could get to themselves, but they don't. So don't fight the battle, just automate it. Okay. So we started doing these early on when we started building automations. And again, we started for our clients, and then non-clients started calling and saying, hey, could you build some automation for us? Almost everybody starts with something like this. And then where it leads is they say, okay, well, that's cool. I like getting that email. What if you could link it to an action, right? Could you send a daily digest to my major gift officers and let them click something like to say that they made a phone call or something like that? Is that possible, Stacy?
It is, and I love this one. So we'll put the phone number in the digest, and we'll put a link to this action, and we'll actually create these actions. We'll assign them to the fundraisers. This one is Andy's, right? So when he gets that email, he calls Ellen. He, clicks the link in the email, which brings him back to this action. He clicks mark complete. He types in his notes from his call with her and clicks save. So what would have been if he had to remember to call her, or if he had to go to Razor's Edge and look up who do I need to call today, that takes a minute. And then even if we told him, hey, Ellen had this thing we need to do, we need to call her to thank her for completing her pledge. If he had to go to Razor's Edge and search for her, right, like, is he going to do it? But if he only has to click 2 things and type in his call notes, I bet he will. So
I spent a lot of time as a major gift officer. I almost always made the call or whatever follow-up action was necessary. I would say maybe less than 5% that work actually was recorded inside of Razor's Edge. So for all the DBAs on the call, I know you're like freaking out right now, but this would have actually allowed me to not just do my job, but to show that I did my job in a way that previously I just kind of did my job.
And to be clear, Andy said he did make the calls. He didn't shirk the duties. He just didn't mark it complete and write up the note.
Too many clicks, too much work, It was the non-fun part of my job.
So in this case, I mean, so again, let's stick with museums and zoos and stuff. So you got memberships galore. You're getting the daily thing saying, hey, this person, here's the 4 memberships that are about to lapse. You could do all sorts of stuff, right? You could prompt, if this is donors, you could be like, hey, assign them to a portfolio. If it's a first-time donor, you could do X, Y, Z. In this case, maybe it's a note to the account rep to reach out to them and make sure that they're renewing, all of that stuff. You could just prompt to that. Okay. So we started with the daily digest. People loved it. Said, hey, could you add actions? We did. People loved it. And then it was inevitable they would end up at this point. Because once you started adding actions, they're like, well, okay, what if the action is you should email the person? And then invariably it all leads to this. And they said, well, if you can send me the list of donors and tell me to email them, could you just write the email for me, right? Could you just do that? And this is where we landed after, I think, about a year and a half of work. If you've been to our webinars before, you've heard us talk about heartfelt emails and how important they are. This example from Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium, from the Field Museum, they're doing this. And I want to show, I'm going to put a QR code up on the screen. So, and if Mr. Menke is on, if he could share this link in the chat as well. So I want you to go to this website because it's more important for you to actually interact with this than just to see it on the screen. Go to easy.automategenius.com/community or just scan the QR code. Andy, I promise it's the right QR code this time. We did colleges, university, healthcares or something. I had the wrong one. And oh man, I haven't heard the end of it. Like 3 or 4 days I've been getting razzed by this brutal team here. Go to this spot. Put in when you get there, you'll see a little simple web page like this. We'll put it up. First name, last name, and email. Put that in and click submit for sample because it's going to send you something. And that something is going to blow your mind and you're going to want to run around your office and show everybody. So first name, last name, put in your work email. When you do and click submit for sample, you will see this amazing thing right here. You're going to get an email. It's going to come from me and it's going to look exactly like this. I'm going to zoom in here. On that email, you'll see a bunch of fake names. None of this is real data. We don't use client data. It's all made up stuff. You'll see a lot of our...
We have a sandbox database from Razor's Edge.
Sandbox database, all made up data. You will get what looks to be a list of donors. So imagine that you're a major gift officer or director of development or anyone working in community org in some sort of forward-facing, client-facing, donor-facing position. You get an email like this in the morning and you've got Leslie, Mary, Sandra, everybody else. You'll notice that these are all hyperlinks. So in this case, Leslie made a gift above 1,000. Mary is a first-time donor. Sandra just had an event ticket redeemed. And you can click on whatever that prompt is, whatever it is that triggered you getting that email. In this case, let's do Sandra Freeman. Event ticket redeemed, okay? And you can do this on the sample you have in your hands right now, on your phone, if you scan the QR code. It will open up natively in whatever email service you use on your phone. If it's Gmail, if it's Outlook, if it's Thunderbird or whatever it is, it will open up an email and start writing it for you. It'll have a prompt that looks exactly like this. And this is an email from you to that donor saying, hey, I saw that in this case, I'm glad that you had a great time at our zoo. I saw that you used a ticket. And then you can go on and introduce yourself. You can invite them to another event, whatever it is. But this gets you 95% of the way there towards whatever that interaction should be. Okay. Andy, does that make sense?
Yeah, wild.
Do clients enjoy this sort of thing?
Really, really enjoy this kind of thing. Again, or a major gift officer, I probably would have done a little bit more emailing. But no, the wild thing is it doesn't just generate it for you. Going back to my last fail, once you actually send that, it does take and record a copy of what you've sent into the Razor's Edge record of the recipient, and also can create and mark an action completed. So I can not just send the email, but Razor's Edge will let the record know that I sent the email, completed it on this date, here's what it said, mostly so on and so forth. So that if the donor reaches out to me in a few days and says, hey, thanks for the amazing email, I'm not going, oh crap, what did I say, or what did I send, or when did I send, or whatever. I can go to the record and right there it is.
And it can be anything, right? So it can be, first-time donors. It can be event tickets. It could be somebody bought something in the gift shop, right? And we want to connect with them. And I would also mention, this is a good time to mention, we do this with Altru as well. I always talk about Razor's Edge. A lot of community organizations use Altru. We've built these automations off of Altru as well. So I should bring that up. Client controls how many emails, what they say, who they come from, whether you send them, all of that. What I want to describe here, for like what is happening and the amazement that you're feeling, is not us coming up with some new way of fundraising. We are not coming down the mountaintop with like, oh, you know what? You should email in personally to your donors. You should build a relationship. Like, you should be kind and introduce yourself. All of that stuff you know already. You do not need PSG experts to tell you that building donor relationships and one-on-one communication is important. What we're doing through this automation is taking that concept and taking the things that you know that you should already be doing every day, but you do not have the time. You do not have the time or the ability to come into work, pull a whole bunch of different queries to find out if somebody just made their 10th gift to your organization overnight, right? Like, you could not do that. There's no physical way for you to do it without automation. So we do it for you, and we serve it up on a platter so that you can go boom, 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 click on the ones that you want to send, edit the email a little bit, send it off, and instantly you build that relationship with the donor, and life is good. Go ahead.
Jump in, Nick. One of the things, and obviously when you look at this, we've got obviously very different conditions and kind of message prompts, right? We work with some organizations where somebody in the group only deals with memberships, right? So like they might not get this whole list of 7 or 8 different things. For some, that daily digest might just be the message prompt for membership renewal or new members, or whatever, where somebody else might get the $1,000 gifts or live months, or so it's not like an all or nothing situation. We can break it down by individual fundraiser, by individual position, or role or department or whatever too. So something to think about. It really is, because we built each one of these from scratch. It's kind of an opportunity for you to say, this is how I want it served up to me.
Love it. I put a poll up there just because, so we're here to highlight automations. If this is something you're more interested in, you want to talk specifically about this automation that we built with the app, feel free, let us know there, and Mr. Mankey will follow up with you. So we don't have to spend a ton of time on it here. We know that most people see that and they're like, oh my goodness, this is going to change some lives here in my organization. I'm going to close the poll down here. We'll end it and we'll keep moving on. We got now fun stuff. Austin, Stacy, let's talk about the data side of the house, right? So keeping data clean. This is really when people kind of get excited, especially if that's your job, right? Fundraisers, frontline folks get excited about the heartfelt emails. Database administrators get excited about stuff like this. So I use an example as we enter into this new sort of data health section of the webinar. Automation, the best way for me to describe automation is a book called, I always said, The Shoemaker and the Elves. Stacy?
Yes. What is this? Elves and the Shoemaker.
So I looked online to try and find a book cover for this. I feel like what's that thing where we all remember Fruit of the Loom logo looking different, or we remember some quote from a movie that never really happened. Apparently we all remember a book called Shoemaker and the Elves. I found 40 copies that say Elves and the Shoemaker, and I'm living in the upside down world. But for the purpose of this, Andy, do you remember it different?
I don't remember it different.
Shoemaker and the Elves, right? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm saying Shoemaker and the Elves. I don't remember this version of it.
I don't know. We've all been.
Is this AI generated?
I know, it's legit. You could go send your kids to the Scholastic Book Fair and they're going to find apparently this backward title. But back on topic, automation is like the shoemaker and the elves. The story is, you all probably know, there's a shoemaker and he's at the end of his rope. He's running out of money. He's only got a little bit left for one pair of shoes. He leaves it out on the counter overnight and he goes to bed all depressed. He wakes up and what do you know? The elves have made his shoes for him overnight. He didn't have to do anything. That is the best example I can give you of what automation is like. And in this case, Stacy and Austin are the little elves that while you sleep, they are working behind the scenes and setting up automations to keep your data clean. Let's talk about auto tagging. What are we talking about here? How does it work? Why is this important to zoos and museums and everything else?
So a lot of times people have giving societies or membership levels or donor walls that have certain sizes of fish or something on them based on levels of giving, right? And this can be really tedious to add up. Sometimes people do include pledge payments and sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's based on giving in the past 12 months from today. Sometimes it's based on giving this fiscal year, right? So there's a lot of rules. Typically, this is a kind of time-consuming process to add up, and people do it maybe monthly or maybe annually to get their donor wall ready or their annual report put together. And then somebody asked them 2 months after they did it, hey, could you give me that list again? No, I cannot, because I only do it once a year, right? So what the automation does is it goes in every night and checks anybody with new gifts, and it adds up all their total giving for the year or their lifetime or whatever your rules are. And then it will change their attribute or their constituent code or however you flag these records so that it's constantly up to date.
So at any given moment, your annoying boss could be like, hey, pull that list of gold society members or something for me. And you really could do that, like, because it would be updated on its own, like as of what happened the night before.
Yep. So cool.
That is really cool. And I also will tell you, I would have had no idea other than working with you brilliant people that that's not just something that happens, right? I would assume if you have a software program that like manages your gifts that you could just know up to the minute, like who's in this giving tier. Apparently that is not the case.
Exactly. Yeah.
One of the things we've seen there quick before we jump over there, Nick, is people have asked on this, and this is something that's becoming more and more popular amongst our clients, like looking to ask for. I mean, one, it allows you to recognize the donor at the level that they've achieved when it happens, and not like in November when you do your donor recognition thing. It's like, cool, that was 7 months ago that I sent you that gift, but whatever. But the other thing that's important, a lot of organizations receive recurring gifts, and so if you are if you're an organization that receives recurring gifts, it's entirely possible that your level of the 2025 giving circles may change periodically throughout the year. So as those additional gifts come in, we can build it so that it automatically updates or overwrites or keeps both if you want of those giving circles, so that it, to your point, it is truly up to date and you can see the progress that a person might make throughout the giving array.
I see why people are so excited. What about the technical stuff? What about like soft credits, right? Normally the wife makes a gift or a guy makes a gift from his corporation instead of personally. Can it handle stuff like that?
Yep. So it can totally find soft credits and add those in and then change your attribute to the new one based on a soft credit gift.
Spoiler alert, if you haven't attended our webinars before, we do this thing where we always ask these questions of Stacy and Austin, like, oh, what about XYZ? And the answer is always yes. There's never been a moment when they haven't been like, yes.
Sometimes they say no, but it eventually becomes yes.
Yeah, they don't even say no. They're like, oh, I'm not that sure. And then like by the end of the webinar, they'll have like sketched out the answer and like, yeah, we figured out a way to do it. Okay, gift acknowledgements. I think, Austin, we got to talk with you about this, right?
Yes.
All right, so gift acknowledgements, old way, manually creating a whole bunch of letters. New way, just let automation handle it, right? And we're going to share some examples of stuff that we've done. Let's go to Texas, West Texas Rehabilitation Center, community organization down there. There's a flow, Austin, that you built. Tell us about what we're looking at. And don't judge me for how blurry I made this screenshot. Oh my goodness.
So what it's really solving is the complete process end to end. So it's not just merging letters, it's going through and combing through your data to say, hey, is it up to snuff? Does it match your data entry standard? Is there a certain gifts you don't want to acknowledge, like gifts under $5 or something like that? It's also determining delivery methods. So if you want to send out emails automatically, and you want to send people physical letters in the mail, you know, what criteria, how is that determined? The automation to do that for you. And what it's really doing is all the busy work associated with acknowledgement letters. And that's just happening every day in the background.
That is super cool. So everything and I also, again, I would have no idea the amount until I watch Austin do this. Like for our clients that have a large volume of gifts, there's so much that I'm learning has to be done before you can just send out the acknowledgements, right? You have to do all the things on here. Suppress gifts from certain people that don't get this letter, they get a different kind of letter. Or, oh, a gift above this needs to come from the executive director or the chairman of the board and not someone else. Like it is nuts, and you can automate all of it. What is this? So then once that automation runs, let's say it runs every night or every Friday, then you just get an email alert?
Yeah, so for the data errors that the flow can't fix, it will serve them up to you on a platter, right? So it won't be like after the letter is merged, John Smith is missing his addressee salutation. You'll be notified before the letter is merged.
So an example might be we're missing this person's name or something like that. We're trying to write a letter, but we're missing.
Like a standard merge field in a letter. The letter would look weird without.
But it tells you that. It doesn't just print them out and then annoy you. It actually alerts you.
Yes, it will give you a heads up that, hey, this person doesn't quite fit our standard for letters. Go take a look at them and they'll be included then in the next run.
So think how satisfying this makes your job. You're moving from, of all the folks on the line, you're moving from where your job is to manage the machine and like notice all the errors on your own and go back and fix them and stuff, to just letting.
Or not fix them.
Or not fix them, or just send them out as is, right? And also an option, always an option. But now you're just letting automation do it for you and just kicking you. This is how we should be living. You tell me when something's broken and I'll use my brain to fix that broken thing. But otherwise you just keep churning along. Can you guys hear all the squeakiness? I'm using the ironing board. I'm using the ironing board for like my mouse so that I don't have to like put my hands up here. But every time I move, like it's the squeakiest thing ever. And I just imagine
Zoom's is doing a great job of removing the squeak.
Zoom for the win. Jabra noise canceling speakerphone. And you can trigger. So you can automate the gifts come in. As the gifts come in, it goes through the big decision tree and does what you want it to do. And then Austin, you can kick emails out, you can create Word docs, you can create Excel files.
Yeah, I think the main takeaway from this automation is there's so many ways to customize it, right? There's so many options that you can set up. So you can have emails that are going out directly to the donor automatically. You can have emails that are drafted based on the assigned fundraiser, so by portfolio, and it goes to someone's draft folder. They can edit the message of the email before they send out the acknowledgement letter. You can have letters customized and printed in-house. Those can be one large file, or they can be broken up amongst multiple things by letter code, by gift type. If you have multiple locations or locales in which you accept donations, they can be routed back to those different locations. Or if you have a high volume of gifts and it's not sustainable to print things in-house, you can get a mail file to send to your designated printer so that they can print acknowledgements and mail them for you.
So if you're a big organization saying, oh, this can't work because we already use a mail house, you could actually automate that whole process to just get the mail house the file they need in the exact right format every time.
Yes.
Oh, that's super cool. And you don't even have to tell your boss about it, right? The boss still thinks you're doing all this stuff by hand, but in reality,
you get credit for a lot of things.
Oh yeah, for sure. You're playing Minesweeper over on the side. Okay, what about this? What about updating Razor's Edge? And I bring this up because I guarantee you somebody right now is about to type in and say, can you update Razor's Edge? Yeah, can you go back and say that you sent the letter? Is that something that we can do?
So we can write back to the system. So we can mark the gift as acknowledged, and we can do a few things that it's just not sustainable for humans to do on their own, right? Which is include a link back to the individual letter merged, or we can actually attach a physical file as well. And if you wanted for like the email portion to add an action to the system, we can do that too.
Love it.
This just gives us a good solid list of, it's even possible to customize more than this, right? This is just the most common things that people have us do.
And so I'm trying to think for community orgs, if there's like, if you're in, so hospitals, we learn have lots of them have multi-sites, right? So the letter has to come from different letterhead. Colleges, universities, this is a really big deal, right? Like a letter has to come from the dean's office or from the president's office or from the athletic director or from a coach or whatever it might be. All of that can be built into your automation and you're just up and running, which is nuts. And again, instead of you doing this all by hand, your job is just to get alerts as they come in that say, hey, here's all your letters and they're ready to go. Okay, keeping a brisk pace here. Deceased record updater. This is really cool. Stacy, what did we do? Let's use Nationwide as our example here.
So Nationwide Children's, a big hospital in Columbus, Ohio, they had tons and tons of deceased people and they were checking them all for things and then, checking them all in the world to find out if they were deceased. And then they had about 25 things that they would do to each record when they found a person was actually deceased. So they would check the box, fill in the date, end their constituent codes, mark inactive, add solicit codes. Yeah, uncheck send mail, end date to their addresses. Oh, what else? Oh, and
just when you think the animation's done, it's not, Stacy. There's more stuff that you have to do.
Many things you do to records to keep them out of everything, right? Yeah. And in addition to this, I don't know if we have a slide for this, but we also flip spouses for them. So if
Ooh,
someone dies who is the primary record and there's a non-constituent spouse on the record who's still alive, we'll flip them so that we don't kill the record or create a second record for this family. We just have the one record, and now the living person is the primary.
all of that crazy, crazy, crazy stuff that you have to do when just marking someone deceased. Now you're just literally clicking that button and all of that stuff happens.
Just check the box and we'll tell the automation exactly what else it needs to do for it once it finds a deceased person.
So let's quantify this for folks. So explain what Nationwide tested here.
So they have a really big database, which is why they did a deceased finder run in Razor's Edge and found almost 15,000 deceased records. And they were Googling to verify every single one that they checked. They didn't want to just kill them all. So before automation, they were able to get through about 732 records a month with all the looking up and then all the changes they were making to records. After automation, they've been able to do over 2,000 records a month to get caught up on all of these, which is huge. It's a huge increase, and it's so great to save them all those same clicks, right? Let them use their brains, let them go out and read obits to figure out if this is the same person or not, right? And have the computer do the stuff that's easy. So.
We are big believers that you should all be doing work that is satisfying, that uses your brain, not work that drives you insane, like clicking 17 times just to do one thing over and over and over again. Like that is what automation is best used for. Andy, what you got something to say?
Well, I was going to say, to do those 17 things over and over, and at one point you're going to be like so bored, you're going to only do 16 of those things and then still mail a dead person and everything else.
Yes.
Where this prevents that exact thing from happening, because then the surviving spouse is really mad and maybe they don't give to your organization anymore. Yep. Wild. What happened? I mean, we see some. I will just tell you, people on the call, we see some stuff. Like that's where I'm going to leave it. We see some stuff,
and it gets dropped too. Like just think of training somebody. Like for the folks who've been doing this a long time at Second Nature, you're training a new DBA, new Razor's Edge person, new Altru person, whatever. You're not going to remember all 17 steps, and they're not going to believe you when you're like, oh, here's the 17 steps you got to do to mark someone deceased. They're like, yeah, that they don't know what they're talking about.
Binder out, start flipping through page by page.
They're not going to do that. They're going to be like, Stacy's crazy. I'm just going to click this button that says mark deceased, right? Like, and not knowing that that's one of 30 steps. All right, tons of stuff you can do on phones. We don't have time to go through all of it. Let's highlight one that I think is really cool. Austin, you did this for an organization, kind of going and cleaning up cell phones. And the reason this is important, and then you can tell us what you did. A lot of organizations now will do like text to give campaigns, right? Or giving, Tuesday, where you need to know if something's a cell phone number or a house number so it doesn't get bounced back. We do a lot of ringless voicemail campaigns, same thing. So Austin, what did you do here?
So this is presuming, say someone lives in North Carolina, right? So we can see on their constituent record where they live. We can take the area code of their phone number, which is a New York area code, and understanding that New York and North Carolina are not the same state, we can therefore make the assumption that this phone number is a cell phone and automatically update it.
So instead of bringing in, whether you use a lockbox or just have people entering gifts, like they entered in phone numbers willy-nilly all over the place, you don't really have to worry about it anymore. You can just run this every night and know that you're going to likely catch every non-local number and appropriately mark it.
You don't even have to think about it anymore. It just runs every evening and considers all the phones added that day.
Awesome. All right, let's keep it rolling. Remember, as you have questions, hit that Q&A button, and then we will get to them as soon as we are wrapped up. We're closing in on the end of the really cool stuff. Constituent code organizer. I was a non-believer. I yawned big when the ladies were telling me about this, and then we put it in a webinar, and everybody started freaking out about how cool it was. So it stays in. What is constituent code hierarchy organizer? What is this thing that you guys proved me wrong on that's such a cool automation?
Well, it came into importance because WebView has placed the topmost constituent code on a record as the primary, and in some places you can only filter on primary. So that's where hierarchy comes in. So what the flow enables you to do is set forth what your priority list is, and then it runs through every night and ensures that all your records have constituent codes in the right order.
It reshuffles them just as it like
sequences your codes so that it's always in the right order.
And then that's important because, as you said, some of the functionality of WebView is all based on what the top one is, right?
Like Insight Designer has primary constituent code, and then some of the native dashboards also have filters.
So it'd be tough to use that functionality without something like this in the background, unless you're going to hire somebody whose full-time job is just to one by one go through everybody and click, up, down, arrow on all of them.
And unfortunately, that is the answer to do this in database view. It's basically delete all your constituent codes out, delete them from the database, and then put them back in the right order. It's horrendous.
And you're not going to do that every day.
No, what a
No
crazy.
one's going to do that.
This is like, do you guys ever do the like PowerPoint nights with your friend groups where like everybody like, I'm going to explain what I do at work, and like you have to put together a presentation with your friends because they all know roughly what you do? Like this would make an amazing one. Like I click an up arrow 17 times on every consider, like this is what I do every day because the system is built in that this is the only way to do it. Automation will help your friends not judge you on your next what I do for a living PowerPoint night. Okay, let's talk about importing data. Andy, what's an example of why somebody on a call today would have to import data?
So if you are an organization that utilizes a third-party lockbox as one, so right, the gifts aren't coming directly to your organization, they're going to a bank to be deposited and to do those things, certainly is a prime example for some organizations. But more likely, you are running some sort of an event, a gala, golf outing, something like that, in which the data doesn't live natively in your Razor's Edge database. So you use OneCause, you use EventGive, you use something like that, right? Where you need to bring that data back into the system. This is what we're talking about here.
All right. So I'm an organization. I'm a zoo. We just had a giant event in Omaha. We ran it through BidPal. There was auctions. I have all this data sitting inside of an Excel spreadsheet. Before automation, I have to then hopefully hand it to somebody else to take all of that and type it all in because you have to have giving history and stuff inside of Razor's Edge. The world got a whole lot cooler because we have a thing called the Magic Lookup folder. Daisy, what is the Magic Lookup folder? What can you do with that Excel spreadsheet that you just got from OneCause or BidPal or whatever?
So with automation, we can take a data file and we can actually look those people up in Razor's Edge for you. So it basically does the same thing you would do if you were typing into Razor's Edge, right? It searches by addresses and emails and names, and then it spits you back out a file that says, oh, we found a Stacy Cope in your database. Her ID number is 1205. We think this is probably her, right? So, and usually we'll do 3 files. So one where we found multiple matches, you're definitely going to want to review those to make sure you're linking me to the right Stacy Cope in Razor's Edge. Single matches where we only found one person that we think qualifies, and then the no match file that is very easy to just import that without worrying that you're putting duplicates into your system. So depending on the size of your file, this can save you hundreds and hundreds of hours worth of work and a lot of tedious just sitting there typing, a lot of duplicate records saved, which we all want to do because we're paying by the record now. So yeah.
Talk about serving it up on a platter. So you're going to have to get them into Razor's Edge some way. Is it right just to think this as like getting it ready for you? So I drop in the folder and immediately it's like, okay, here are the ones that are no matches. So no matter what, you're going to have to enter all these brand new people. Now you know with confidence that here are the ones that are fit that description. But then the other ones, it found a match and it appended in a constituent ID code. So now I can just click to import them.
Yep. And we can kind of do whatever you want with the output files too, right? So we can add, a column for phone type and a column for address type and all those things that you need to do and import into Razor's Edge so that it basically the file is now ready for you rather than you having to add all those columns and fill in all that stuff.
So we have a couple of large Catholic diocese clients that took this and really ran with it and kind of pressed us to do even more. What did we do for them? So Magic File is a SharePoint thing. You drop it on there, automations run, dig inside of Razor's Edge, and it's all Excel based and import based. Now you're doing this like actually within WebView, right?
Yep. So for this particular one, we're using a third-party system and getting the data directly from there. And then we're doing that same thing. We're searching Razor's Edge for these people by their name and their address and their phone number and email, right? And then, but instead of putting them into an Excel file, we'll throw them into this tile in Razor's Edge so that you can review them and say, okay, this is the right one. Let's match to this person, or no, none of these match, create a new record. And once you've done that, especially if this third-party system is something you're using a lot, right? We can add the IDs from the systems back one to the other so that the next time there's a change to Nick's record, he has a new email or something, we already know that somebody has looked at him and matched him, so then we'll just update the email this time because we've saved those IDs, and so now we know that this Nick Pringer is definitely this Nick Pringer over here.
Got it. So it just finally dawned on me after I've been talking about this much. This is really when there's an API connection with another. Okay. Like if it's another software system that's sophisticated enough, you can have an API. Like then you can just have it connect right into Altru or Razor's Edge and serve it up on a platter this way and do it one by one versus like waiting and having like a big spreadsheet that you're dragging over.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome.